USC women basketball.
Welcome to the latest episode of Trojans Wired, the podcast, which is an in-house production of the website Trojans Wire. We are part of the College Wire Network. All right, so USC women's basketball grabs a win and now goes into a very tough Michigan road swing. Wolverines just around the corner, but next up, it's the Michigan State Spartans in East Lansing. Michigan State just 2 losses this season, 6-2. In the Big Ten, Spartans are on a roll. They've been beating some good teams. They've beaten Ole Miss, Illinois, Washington, Oregon, Nebraska. They're good. So back at you with USC women's basketball analyst CC Clay to preview this matchup. And, Kennedy Smith back. Big highlight, big opportunity for USC to show, now that we got our Kennedy back, time to get some work done on the road against Michigan State.
Yeah, thank goodness. Matt, honestly, this matchup reminds me of the North Carolina State matchup. And the reason why I say that is because and I'll tell you the differences, but as far as roster construction, your hair looks fine, Matt. It looks fine. It's popping.
I've never thought of my hair that way. Only you would come up with that.
Yeah. The difference is, as far as roster construction and the starting five, the difference is, okay, so North Carolina State had Camille Pierre. Michigan State has Grace Van Slooten, 2 great power 4 players. The difference between Camille Pierre and Grace Van Slooten is Camille Pierre can take you off the bounce. She likes to rebound. She's a jumper. She's really good on her feet. Grace Van Slooten is better with her back to the basket, but she's more slick with the basketball. She has great footwork. She's a system player, and so it's going to be interesting to see how we match up with them. North Carolina State guards, on the other hand, they like to take the ball off the dribble a lot. Very speed, considered elite guards in the big scheme of things. Whereas Michigan State's guards, they're more of a system, half court, will not take you off the bounce, 3-point shooters, pass the ball, to get the best shot. So it allows USC to really focus a little bit more help off their guards and onto Grace, but they still got to be leery of the perimeter shooters that Michigan State has because they're shooting 38% from 3. I know that was a lot, but I had to explain it.
Oh, it's a big game. There's a lot to digest here. So, if we want to just extend the NC State comparison a little bit, on one hand, Gerda played well in that game in Charlotte in early November, but it was the beginning of the season. And we've seen this USC front court change a lot. And the person playing the best right now in that front court group is Viv Iwuchukwu. But Lindsey Gottlieb has said this, and you've said it too. Like the way you play last week, a game ago, does not make it a lock that you're going to get a certain amount of minutes or that you're going to be prominently featured in the next game. But knowing that, so Gerda played well against NC State, but she hasn't really been that prominent recently. So, Vivi Iwuchukwu's kind of the hot hand. I mean, that usually applies to scorers, but she is the front court player who is playing the best. So there are some real questions about this matchup right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think, again, this is going to be a matchup where it's going to be by committee because Grace is the key player. She is their main player. She is the person that we have to stop. We have to limit touches in the paint. We have to be physical with Grace, and we can't let her get her ball under the rim, and she can't seal us. So if she's going to seal us, she needs to seal us further out inside the paint and not close to the rim, kind of like what Lauren Betts likes to do. She's 6'3", but she's so agile on her feet, so that's the difference. So it's going to be a committee game this time around.
Now, one more question on this matchup, containing Michigan State in the paint. USC's been caught on the short end of free throw disparities in a number of games this season. But on the other hand, and this is a point you've made, CC, and it kind of recalls, how USC played Lauren Betts last year with Clarice and Rhea. You have a lot of fouls to use. Like, you don't want to get cheated, all right? But you want to use the fouls, but of course you don't want them to be shooting fouls. You want them to be those hard, non-shooting fouls that prevent, moves to the basket, cuts, layups, but aren't translating to free throws. Seems like it's a delicate balance. It's a fine line for USC to walk in this game. Any particular comments on that tension point? You want to use the fouls, but obviously you can't be giving Michigan State a parade to the foul line.
Yeah, just play physical, hands straight up. When we let people shoot at the rim, we're often coming down on a shot. Now the perimeter defense, that's a whole nother story. To me, that's a whole reffing thing with physicality. But around the rim, we want to make sure that we keep our hands straight up. And I think that's where we're getting a lot of the shooting fouls called around the rim, is we're coming down and fouling them, bringing our hands down instead of holding our hands straight up, or limiting the paint touches in general. So that's what we have to do against Michigan State. Now, the other thing I will say regarding North Carolina State, they had Tyler Trigger, who was 6'4", 6'5", which she wasn't really an issue with us. With Michigan State, there is no other person over 6'3" on their entire roster. So we don't have to worry about the Tyler Trigger effect, two inside posts. It's just they run a four-guard, one person in the paint offense just like we do. So my whole analysis of this game is we have to stop Grace Van Slooten. Now, the guards are very good, but they're not elite guards. They won't take you off the dribble a lot. I'm telling you, they're very systematic. They're very disciplined, and they look for their open players all the time. So they like to pass that ball around. If Grace can't get a shot, you'll see the ball movement and you'll see it really fast. So they're a half court team. They don't run a lot. And it's going to be a fun game for our guards, which are more athletic, to see if we can take them off the bounce.
One more question on USC's defense before we go to the other end of the floor and the USC offense. So, containing Van Slooten, and it's going to be important to not help off open shooters.
Correct.
For threes. Is that going to be more a thing on the wing or at the top of the key? Like you mentioned, ball movement is it going to be easier for Michigan State just to work a two-person game, wing to post on the strong side, or is it more about the overall ball movement, top of the key? So like you don't want to be caught, helping from the middle of the court on the Van Slooten. How do you think that's going to work for USC?
So where Michigan State guards are most effective in shooting are their baseline threes. So
Corners.
That's where the corner threes are most effective. So that's what we have to watch out for. And to me, if they're shooting a lot, if they're shooting a lot of corner threes, it's ball movement. Perimeter ball movement from one side to the other. The ball always moves faster than the defender, right? So they're really good at ball movement. So that whether Grace Van Slooten and another guard are playing a pick and roll game and then kicking out to the corner threes, I'm not sure how because I haven't really watched them play. I watched them a little bit, but just what I did watch, Grace Van Slooten is the key, and the guards are more of a system type of teammates. That didn't make sense. I'm tired, Matt. I've been out all day.
Well, you've been driving a lot, so that's a perfect segue to USC's offense.
Oh my God.
Seems like the way for USC to attack is with the dribble drive, correct?
Yeah, well, we want to try and get Grace in foul trouble, because if we can get her in foul trouble, that'll make our life so much easier. And I think, again, Cara Dunn showing her ability to post up and get to the paint, because she has a smaller defender on her, will be key in this game, as well as Kennedy Smith being a connector and hitting the open shots. Now, with Cara Dunn being hot, it's going to be interesting to see how Michigan State defends against her compared to how they defend against Jazzy. So I'm interested to see that matchup.
So part of USC's line of attack might be, if Michigan State sends help at Cara Dunn, thinking, hey, she's the hot hand. She's obviously the best offensive player right now for USC, the most informed player. A really big key could be how Cara Dunn passes out of double teams, finding Kennedy, finding Jazzy on cuts to the basket. If that happens, do you anticipate the cuts coming, through the paint, or baseline, perhaps? Does it matter? How do you see the geometry of this game unfolding for USC at the offensive end of the floor?
They're just going to have to read and react that second line of defense and pick and choose where their holes are. I think, honestly, this is going to be a big game for Kennedy because nobody's focusing on Kennedy. You know what I mean? They're focusing on Jazzy
Offensively. Yeah.
offensively, on Jazzy and Kara Dunn right now. And I think that it's going to leave Kennedy an opportunity for this game to really offensively do some work. Now, Kennedy, she's gotten so used to being the connector now, it's kind of hard for her to say, "Hey, I need to shoot the ball," But I think this is a game where there may be an opportunity for her to have a great offensive game.
And the reminder about the Purdue game is that both Kennedy and Jazzy had 6 assists
In
apiece.
limited amounts of play because Jazzy,
Yeah, he
we
did
didn't
not
talk
play
about that
extended
in the pro
minutes.
game. Jazzy, who usually plays 39, 40 minutes a game, played 23 minutes in that Purdue game, which means she's getting rested, so she's probably rested. She's probably been fatigued and tired late in games. So they had a day off yesterday. So I'm sure that they're going to come into this game knowing that it's a must win, well rested and focused.
Yeah, and I mean, you teed it up, Cece, that the primary focus is probably going to be Kara for Michigan State and Jazzy number 2. So Kennedy Smith at number 3 as a third option could be really important for USC. All right, London Jones. We keep banging this drum, but like it doesn't cease to be important, right? Sometimes you just got to mention the obvious thing, even if it's a little bit repetitive. Prime Big Ten opponent, road game. Like this is why London Jones is here. Talk about what you're expecting and what you hope to see from London Jones in this game for USC.
That she stays relaxed and lets the game come to her. That she doesn't press so much, trying to force her offense because when she tries to press and force her offense, that's what it kind of negates what the team play is supposed to be about. And that's not a negative on London at all because she's a great player. We just need her to relax and let the game come to her.
Absolutely. Now, with the focus probably going first to Kara and Jazzy, and then Kennedy and perhaps London being the players who will get a lot of good looks because Michigan State's going to be so focused on Kara and Jazzy. Any way for USC to spread the court in a particular way? Like, do you want to have both Kara and Jazzy on one side? Do you want to split them up? Does that matter? How does that affect the read and react concepts and components? Because Kennedy's been out for a few weeks and got back into the swing of things against Purdue. Like, do you think Lindsey Gottlieb has any kind of new way of deploying them, or is it just a matter of doing what you do and doing it better and being more refined, more polished?
Yeah, I think, the first priority is to get out in transition, and that's within their flow offense. So they call it the flow, right? They get into their flow, which is a transition offense. And if they can't anything do a transition offense, then they bring it out and they go into their read and react. Now that read and react can consist of a 5 out, a 4 out, 1 in, or a horn set, which is two players at the corners of the free throw line, so at the elbows. So it just depends, I think, what they're reading and what the defense is doing, and of course that's going to take a little bit of time within the game. But the last game, Lindsey was calling out a lot of actions and a lot of sets, a lot of actions within the read and react offense. So I would look to see Lindsey doing that again as well in this game.
All right, now you mentioned that Michigan State is not especially tall, doesn't have a ton of size, 1 through 5 on its roster. So that goes to another theme for this USC team, the rebounding battle.
Yeah.
Not giving Michigan State in this structured, patient, half-court offense any more bites at the apple than necessary. Talk a little bit more about how the rebounding element always important, but especially against a team that doesn't have a lot of size. Like how much does USC need to win the rebounding battle? Slightly, by double digits. What would you put down as kind of the marker or the expectation for USC on the glass in this game?
I would be happy if we just out rebounded any team. You know what I mean? Especially on the offensive end. If we can out rebound teams on the offensive side of the ball, That's good for us. The challenge becomes, even though Michigan State is not a big team, like they do have big guards. Any team right now is going to be bigger than our guards when with London and Malia in the game. So that poses a risk when it comes to rebounding, right? Because London Jones, unless the ball comes off the rim and straight to London Jones, I mean, she's aggressive in getting the ball, but she can't get inside and get the rebound, and so that's where the challenge is for us. Jazzy and Cara Dunn and Kennedy are going to have to rebound, and they're going to have to play physical ball in order to get that rebound. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the rebounding side of things. But anytime that we just win the rebounding edge on the offensive side of the ball, I'm happy.
And I would say that, against a team that's not, especially big, though, USC can have some small lineups which pose problems for the Trojans. But one line of opportunity I would think is if USC can crash the glass, like the hope I would think, CC, is putting the ball back right away. Jazzy being able to play over the top of her defender, just getting that ball right back on the glass after getting the rebound. I mean, there are times, obviously, if there's lots of help, there are a lot of bodies, you have to reset the ball, take it back up top. But the ideal would be, hey, I'm longer, I'm taller than you are. I'm just gonna put it back on the window and score.
Yeah, take it up with confidence and with power. Sometimes we get the offensive rebound and we just put the ball back up. We just rush it. Now it's okay to rush it, but you still have to understand where the basket is, and you still have to go up with power and your body leaning towards the basket. Sometimes when we're getting the offensive rebound, we go away from the basket and throw the ball up. And there's a big difference in getting the ball in the bucket when you do those sort of things. So the key is just to play disciplined ball, basketball 101, and understand what the fundamentals are when you're rebounding the ball and going back up.
It's that fine line between being calm and disciplined, but also authoritative, and being aggressive without being overly reckless. It's something that hopefully with Kennedy Smith back in the lineup, all the pieces come together for USC. All right, other notes, other angles you have on this game, other things that you wanted to mention.
Yeah, I just want to reemphasize that on the defensive end, we must stay disciplined, right? Because they're going to run. They're so good in their half court sets. We can't get lost. You know what I mean? We have to stay disciplined. We have to stay focused on what the reads are, what the scout is, and not overplay what we're not supposed to be overplaying, right? If we're going to help on Grace Van Sluten, the person that's been called to help, got to make sure they get there, and then the rotations have to be right because they're very good. They're a very good disciplined team. They're a very good fundamentally sound team, and they're very good in half court. The other thing that I'm looking for us to do, since we did it so well against Purdue, is to run our press a little bit and do a half court trap or three-quarter court trap on this team to even slow them out of their offense a little bit more and get them a little frazzled. So that's what I'm looking to see us do and do it well, and actually follow through with our assignments on the press that we're supposed to follow through with.
It's basketball 101. You alluded to it, but this specific point, if a team has a great post player, that post player can't do anything if that post player doesn't get the ball often and doesn't get the ball in the right spots. So you bother the guards, you bother the people whose job it is to pass the ball to that post player. So that really feeds into your line of analysis about the trapping, the pressing, and bothering Michigan State's guards, because then the ball doesn't get to Van Sluten nearly as much as Michigan State.
We played really well. We played really good defense against Camille Pierre at North Carolina State, as you alluded to with Gerda, and that's going to have to be the same mentality. Like I said, the difference is it was harder for us defensive wise because North Carolina State has some elite guards that can go off the dribble. It's a different style of play with Michigan State, which allows our guards to be able to help a little bit more. But at the same time, we have to be wary of their passing for the 3-point shot. 38% from three is not cupcakes. So we have to stay disciplined and limit Grace. And Grace, if you guys have never seen Grace Van Sluten play before, she's a phenomenal player. She's really good. Her freshman year, she played at Oregon and then transferred to Michigan State, or her sophomore year, she transferred. Maybe her junior year, I don't know, but she transferred. She played at Oregon, uh, and so she's doing really well at Michigan State, and I really love her game. She's really slick with it. So
All right. So for every big USC game, we do this: statistical markers, the analytics, the benchmarks, a target or two for USC to hit in this game. If USC can reach a certain numerical or categorical target or goal, its chances of winning go up. Cece, what would be your main one or two selections?
So limit the turnovers. I say at the most nine turnovers. Don't turn it over to Michigan State because if you do turn it over, they will get out and run and hit the bucket. And the other thing is we have to hit our shots. And from the 3 point line, if we're going to shoot more threes and twos, we have to be at around 33, 34% in order to win this game.
All right. Cece, anything else on this game?
No, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. This is one of the games where I wish I could just fly to Michigan State and go watch the game in person because I I love USC, but I really like Grace Van Sluten's game. So I wanted to see the matchup up close and personal and watch her game personally. I was hoping that they come out here this year, but they did last year. But it's going to be a fun game. We need this win. And then Michigan, man, if we could get out of these with both, that'd be great. If we could get out of these with a split, that's good. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Hey, if you offer me a split of the Michigan schools right now, I am signing on the dotted line, lock down that contractual agreement. All right, CC. So tell us what you have going on at your USC Women's Basketball Media Lab, your Substack, and your other media involvements.
Photos are up from the last game, Purdue game. So go take a look at those photos. A lot of people, you can click on it and enlarge it, and I guess a lot of people are cutting and then saving it as a JPEG to their phones, whatever. I don't care if you do that. The more exposure this team gets, the better. I do have a story out today on the website regarding Beth Burns. I said I was going to put that story out. I put that story out, and then tomorrow I have a story coming out on why USC is hated so much.
Hey, just wait till next year on that
I
front.
know, right? Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
So yeah, so
Okay.
that story's coming out tomorrow, and yeah, that's it. I got a busy week for my regular job, so trying to get all this stuff done.
And speaking of stuff done, that's our show. We did it pretty efficiently. So now you can get some rest, hopefully. You've earned it.
Yeah, I got to go back out for a second and pick up some stuff, but yeah, you see, I came right in. I still got my blazer on from my meetings. I didn't even have a chance to change. Just nonstop. But you know what? I love it because it's what keeps me going. I'm like the little Energizer bunny that doesn't stop. Even I start talking. I'm talking fast because I have a matcha frappuccino that's making my mind go crazy right now. So I got to limit myself on that stuff.
But to help you through hectic days, like that's what those beverages are for. All right, folks.
Yeah.
So we are going to be with you, of course, after the Michigan State game, probably Friday. Don't want to guarantee it, but probably Friday is when we'll be able to put out the Michigan State post-game reaction show, and then we'll preview Michigan. So big games, big moments for this USC team. Keep following CC Clay at her USC Women's Basketball Media Lab. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share her YouTube channel. Keep those social shares and mentions going and spread the word to your USC friends. So, for CC, this is Matt. Thanks for watching and listening to the latest episode of Trojans Wired. We'll see you next time after Michigan State.
Fight on.